Okay, so I believe we're live now. I'm joined by Olivia from Bloodphemy.
Yes, good night, everyone. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're the singer, yeah? You're the singer. So first off, I always like to ask, right? So I know you weren't around when the band first formed, but tell us about the name Bloodphemy. It's like what's the story behind that? Any story? Anything interesting to mention about that?
It's actually it's a good question because this was actually an imagination from our first singer, Jan Westdijk. And it's actually good that you mentioned him. Right, you brought this up right now because he recently passed away, and we're all very sad about that. So it's a great opportunity to pay him some respects right at the beginning of the interview. So yeah, he came up with the name, and obviously it's a combination of blood and blasphemy, which kind of stuck around the whole theme with the blood and everything. We kept trying to keep it going in through the different albums and styles that we went through.
And what about the blasphemy? You blasphemous as well?
Well, we like blood and we're blasphemous, so
so you got the best of both worlds.
Yeah, like the let's say around 2000, right, that mark. So I guess we were all pretty young, and let's go for something cool.
Right. And how would you describe your sound for people who are just tuning in now and they want to know what the Bloodphemy is all about? What would you describe your genre, your sound as?
Well, I think we took the typical what we call Dutch death metal, which has been around the world, been pretty popular, and we kind of took that and took our own influences with that. And what I find funny is they sometimes get described as very old school death metal with Swedish influences. But what I found very funny about that is I don't really see it that way because we're more like. I think we have more influence, more like from the lower parts and maybe some, not really doom, but some more darker stuff trying to put in there. We don't shy away to sometimes go a little bit slower than afterwards to kick some ass instead of just keeping going all the time and losing people's interest. So I think in that regard, it's very much schooled on the old school Dutch metal, but we took that further and basically built our own sound off of that with a more like darker theme.
Right. Right. So the only original member is the drummer Edwin. So everyone else is kind of new. Do you know anything about the formation of the band, how it first got together, what the story was there?
Obviously, I wasn't there at the time, so I wasn't there to experience that. But I think it was just a couple of people were really, really enthusiastic about death metal, and they just wanted to start playing. And Edwin told me, like, yeah, everybody just should get to learn an instrument and started playing, and everybody was like that back in the day. And we've all been in different bands, and everybody just wanted to play. And if you look back at the roster of bands that we've all been into, then obviously Edwin has been into Pleurisy as well. I was in Judgment Day back in the day, and so even one of our current guitarists, he used to be one of the earliest members of Sinister. So I think we all go back pretty deep into those days of death metal when it was really exploding in Holland.
Right, cool. Because you're from, was it Amersfoort? Is it your band are centered in?
Yeah, we originally from Amersfoort, but not everyone is from Amersfoort right now.
All right. Is that near Essen? Because I'm sure I remember passing Amersfoort on the way. I used to go to Essen like every year for Ice Speedway.
Depends what you call near, because for us, I wouldn't really say near, but if you're coming from the UK, it's probably pretty near.
Oh, yeah, because I remember that name. I remember passing that place or something like that. Anyway, so what happened with this? So the band had one album out, didn't they, back when they were first together, and then they split up. Any particular reason for that, do you know?
I don't think there was like a specific thing why they split up, but it's more like it wasn't really happening at that moment. And even though that first EP was received pretty well, I think everybody just went like their different ways at the time and went to join different bands and focused on that. And then after a long time, when some of the other bands had split up, that's when basically Edwin and our previous guitarist Winfred decided to get back together and reform Bloodphemy, now in a more serious way with a very serious agenda to basically pick up where they left off.
Right. So this is one album when you're first around. They come back, did an EP, and then there was another album like a little while afterwards. But then there's a massive lineup change. And the only person left now is the drummer. What happened between releases to cause such a mix, change around inside in the ranks, so to speak?
Yeah, I guess we're just unlucky because one of the things that happened when I joined Bloodphemy was with Rutger and Winfred on guitars, and so actually Rutger was the first to leave after that, but it wasn't because of any bad blood. It was just like his other bands got so active at that moment, and they demanded so much attention, and he had gotten a child not too recently, and then he just said, you know, guys, I can't make it. And we actually still are really good friends. And he contributed some solos to the last album. So that's why Rutger left. And then our bass player had to basically, he enjoyed the band a lot, but at some point he decided to focus more on his personal life. He was dealing with some personal stuff that he demanded his attention. So luckily, we were able to replace him with Robin, who was a past band member from Edwin as well, so they know each other. And we found him really quickly, and he's been a great addition to the band as well. And then we basically went as a four-piece for a while. We had some intermittent guitar players, and it was really hard to fill up the second guitar spot. So we had basically some stand-ins, and then some guys who were going to join the band, and in the end didn't have the time for it. And luckily, we were able to find Arjan, who is a really talented guitar player, and he's also in Codex Mortis, which is a black metal band, which for us really worked out really well because we were trying to move into a more darker setting anyway, just in for the music. So for us, that worked out really, really well because it became very natural to sort of like darken the tone a little bit. And then just when we basically got everything up and running again, then Winfred, who was always been the main driving force behind the band, or together with Edwin, he was really pushing the band forward, and it was like most of the inspiration from the music came from him as well. So when he announced, for also personal reasons and because of a job and things, he was leaving Bloodphemy, we all were a little bit afraid that we might have to throw in the towel, so to speak. Because how are we we've spent so much time replacing or finding Arjan as a second guitar player. So how the hell are you going to replace another one so soon if it took so long to find just one? And then actually I think it was within a week or 2 weeks, we got a call from Edwin that said, I might have found a perfect guitar player for us. And that was Bart. And Bart joined the band, and we're super, super happy to have him because obviously he's a very talented guitar player as well, and he has a great track record when it comes to writing Dutch death metal because he was one of the most influential members in the early days of Sinister, which is, I think, saying a lot. And having somebody like that with such a track record in the band, that's just some wish. For us, it was a wish come true.
All right. How did you come to join? Because you're like the second longest standing member now. So was there a lot of... And then what happened to because was it the singer? Did you replace the singer who just recently died as well, or was another singer in between?
No, there was actually during the reformation there was a different singer.
Yeah.
And so after he quit the band, Edwin and the guys were looking for a new singer. And the funny thing is that they actually recorded the very first EP at a studio which was run by the drummer from the band I was in back in the day called Judgment Day.
Right. Were they a fresh band?
I'm sorry?
Were they a fresh band, Judgment Day?
I don't know what you mean by fresh, but fresh, no. Sorry, I think you said fresh.
No, fresh.
Death metal band with some fresh influences, but mainly just death metal. Oh. And Edwin kind of remembered me from those days that we didn't even know each other, but he remembered that I was a singer, and I just totally at random got a message from him on Facebook just asking me if I did some growling still, and I said, yeah, sure. Said, are you interested in joining Bloodphemy? So I did a little bit of research on the band, and then the first thing I saw when I was watching the videos and the music, I was like, fuck yeah, this is an awesome opportunity. So yeah, let's put in the effort and make this work.
Right, but what was your first release that you actually played on? Was it the recent album? Is that the only one that you've played on so far?
Yes, for me, yes, because during the time they were actually trying to replace a singer, that was exactly in the time when they were in the studio. So and because of all the planning they had done, there was no opportunity to delay the album of any way. So they actually found Dirk, which is a really good singer. They found him, and he was willing to, on short notice, to actually sing on the album, which I think he did a great job on. So it sounds just absolutely brutal. And literally, the funny thing is, literally during the album release show, I played that show already.
Right. So this is the In Cold Blood album, is it? You're not actually on that album.
Yeah, that's In Cold Blood. Yeah.
Oh, right. So you're not actually appearing on it, even because you kind of, it was a bit late, and now you already had somebody like come in just to do it as a one-off, was it?
Yeah, and that was Dirk, yeah, and
Right.
he did more bands as well. So yeah, he was just willing to step in and perform on the album, which I think really helped the guys out at that moment.
Yeah. So with the new lineup, you've been there since like 2017, and so I suppose if everything was recorded and before you even got in there, you've not had any chance to sort of make an impact on the sound yet. Have you? Has anything? Because you're saying you've got a new guitarist that made a bit changes as well, a bit more black metal. Would you say you've added anything to it since you've been there? Have you been able to like jam any new stuff, or has it been too tricky?
I'm actually mixing up the names because I was actually singing on In Cold Blood, but it was Bloodline that was from 2007.
The one that was right.
So I just want to clear that up because In Cold
Yeah.
Blood we sang on that album. So
Right.
that's the last one that we put out, and so I guess like my influences mainly focused on the vocal lines and the vocal parts and things like that. But I guess for the new album we are, and it's actually really funny. We've been only together for like a couple of months now in this lineup, but we're working hard together, and everyone is really trying to put the best into writing the music as well. And we're also trying to do something a little bit different this time to set ourselves apart, so to also challenge ourselves to come up with a little bit more. And when I say black metal, I don't really mean that we're going to have like any songs that are proper black metal or something. It's more like an influence of more like a darker, more sinister tone to it. If you catch what I mean.
Right, so you was on In Cold Blood, okay? Because I thought it was because the timeline, I thought you would have been on it, unless there was a call that never brought it out till 2 years later. So Bloodline was the one you just missed out on, and then right. So did you have any influence, like in the way, like maybe different songs, themes, or anything like that between Bloodline and In Cold Blood? Did you bring any sort of new ideas into the lyrics or anything, or just carried on the blood and blasphemy?
Well, actually, the funny thing is that we already kind of moved away from the whole blasphemy thing when Bloodphemy was reformed, because in my opinion, I guess the guys share this as well, is like it's kind of like done. Like so many bands are doing like anti-God, anti-things. Like it's not. We still are still in that corner, so to speak. But it's not like, yeah, I think it's a little bit easy just to go out and go fuck God. I think it's a little bit easy to just go that route. So what we've done is doing a lot of themes around mental stuff. So we have a lot of songs about mental issues, about people going crazy, about mental conditions and stuff like that. So especially on the album Cold Blood, basically every single song is about some mental issue or some crazy stuff going on, people living in different realities, stuff like that. So that's kind of the theme that we settled on. And especially that was for Bloodline and Cold Blood. That was both the main theme of the album.
And did you write most of the lyrics for that album?
For mainly it was a group effort, I would say. Edwin putting a lot of the main ideas as well. We still had some ideas left over from the bass player that left the band. So basically, with a lot of lyrics, I took the main ideas that were there, and then for some, like Edwin wrote some of the lyrics, and then I would really adapt them to the song, and also fill in the blanks. And another part of the lyrics is just an idea, and I took that and turned that into lyrics, or I just came up with it myself.
Is there anything sort of semi-autobiographical in any of the the mental, everyone has some kind of mental, like, I suffer from depression and other people have got other things. I mean, is there anything in there that was taken from the heart?
Well, I think the most interesting answer would be not that I know of, but it's more like I wasn't really trying to put anything really personal onto that album. So if anything made it to, it's more like in a subconscious way.
Yeah. Right. So talking about blasphemy, I just want to mention Altar, their Youth Against Christ album. Once you've got that, you don't need any more blasphemy albums, because that was such a good album. Do you like Altar?
Yeah. I agree. I mean, that was a phenomenal album. I really like the monument, especially in that time when that came out. Everyone was like, "Holy hell, what are these people doing?" And everybody just absolutely loved it, both in Holland and also abroad. Like everybody was like, "Holy shit, these guys!" Also, cool. Lyrical themes.
Yeah. Right. Talking about lyrics, I do like to talk about lyrics. So what's your favorite lyric that you've written yourself? Is there anything that you love to sing, like just like really sort of, yeah, it really gives you the fucking goosebumps or anything like that when you sing it?
Well, I think actually that happens most with some of the lyrics from the first EP after the Reformation,
Ah.
because there's actually songs that are kind of like slower on it, and they have this really long like howling growls on it, and especially doing that on stage, and there's like this double bass in the background going on pounding, and you can really see the response in those songs when people go like, holy fuck, this is heavy.
Yeah.
That sort of kick is super cool to do. And then coming back to the last album, In Cold Blood, there's actually, I think it's a final song on the album, which is called Lomo Delinquente, and it's there's like this manic guitar riff going on, and there's singing on top that goes from low growling to high pitched, almost black metal like screams, and it goes on like that. And there's some very violent drums going on there as well, and especially when you play that live, it's like it's basically a full forced attack.
All right. So it's more the holistic thing that gives you a chill. You don't get any like from your own sort of lyrics. There's nothing in your own lyrics that you think, oh, that's a fucking banging lyric I wrote there. Is there any lyrics you go, I'm fucking proud I wrote that line? Anything like that?
Well, it is, I'm actually more proud of the lines that I wrote there than the actual lyrics, because it just fits so well with the music. And for me, a lot of times the music comes first, and then you fit the lyrics to that. And I mean, ask me again when the new album drops, and maybe you have some more interesting things to say.
Well, talking about the new album, then. I mean, how far along is that? When can we expect that? Has it been held up at all by this coronavirus crap?
Well, actually, we're making really good progress. I think our drummer Edwin has just been to the studio to record his drums. So that's actually moving along pretty well. And I was actually, before this interview, I was actually working on the lyrics tonight. And so most of the guitar stuff is already done. And I think Bart is also in the process of recording it right now. So we're actually moving along really well. I have no timeline on the release just yet, but I do believe that it's definitely going to be worth the wait.
Cool. So has it been tricky though around this time? I mean, are you close enough to get together in the practice room, or did you record your bits and then send it to the other person by email and say, you learn this? Or how does the writing process go, and has it changed in the current climate?
Yes, so especially when it first hit and we first got all like the stay-at-home orders and stuff like that, we were really bummed out because we had to cancel some awesome shows. We had some really good stuff in the pipeline, especially our appearance at the Stonehenge Festival here in Holland. That was really painful that we had to cancel that, and we had some really awesome stuff for like a couple of tours for around the fall that we had to cancel. So yeah. That was really shitty that we had to do that. But again, like, it is what it is. And then also not being able to practice for months. And we tried to stay in touch, like record stuff at home and send it to each other. And I think we, especially given all the circumstances also with new band members, I'm actually really surprised that we got to still move ahead like we did. And then obviously there came a point where we actually were able to get back together in the practice room again, and that made us extremely happy to see each other again, be able to play again, get that noise in your veins, feel that brutal sound that you can only hear when you're actually playing together live. So that was really amazing to get that going again. And then we actually had a gig after that in Delft, which was more like a live stream or recording for a stream. And then a couple of people were there. I think there was only like maybe 15 or 20 people there, but it just felt so amazing to have something resembling an audience again. So yeah, I'm actually really happy to see how that moved forward with the album. And I don't think we really got delayed that much, but it was mainly because of the great effort that the guitarist and Edwin put in to really keep that momentum going. And I just have to take my hat off to the guys and say, like, you guys did an awesome job.
What about on the live? I mean, have you been a very active live band? Obviously, with lineup changes and that probably affected it. But Bloodphemy, like one of these bands who get out there, do a lot of gigs, or is it just like once in a blue moon if a good one comes up kind of thing?
No, we actually did. I think ever since I joined, I haven't done so many gigs with a single band yet. So for me, that's awesome. And we had some awesome places that we played. Last year, we did a tour in Poland with a couple of bands who are friends of ours. So like Hypnos and Tortory, which was really cool. And then obviously we played Czech Death Fest, Kaltenbach Open Air. We still played Gotham, Goat Hell, some festivals in the summer last year, and then also a great number of club shows as well, both in Holland but also in Czech Republic, Poland, Slovakia. So yeah, I think I'm pretty proud of what we accomplished there, and we're actually looking forward to doing a lot more. So we still have plans to do Eindhoven Metal Meeting, which is still planned for December, and I think we'll have to see how that goes right now. But yeah, we're just hoping for the best and keeping in shape so we can go on stage at a moment's notice. And we actually have so next week, October 2nd, we actually have a gig planned, which is in The Hague in the Netherlands, and it's going to be weird because you only have like 34 people that can attend because they have to sit down in like chairs in pairs and stuff like that. So it's gonna be really weird, but
yeah.
Better than nothing, right?
Yeah, exactly. But you've got to fucking move with the times, and you've got to work with what you can do, haven't you? Really, it gives you like a free practice, and someone's asking if you've ever toured in the US. I highly doubt it.
Oh man, I would love to say yes to that, but no, we haven't toured in the US yet, is what I would say. Because I think me and the guys would definitely be very happy to go to jump over the pond and rock out.
Yeah. Do you organise all your own gigs? Is it all DIY? Have you got a booking agent that gets you on all these good festivals?
It's a bit of both. Edwin has a lot of contacts in the metal scene, so I always joke that he knows everyone. And it actually feels that way. Like he literally knows everyone, but he's able to secure a lot of nice gigs also in festivals, especially in Eastern Europe, where he has a lot of contacts. And then what we do is we organize our own stuff over here. Or for example, Bloodfest, which is a festival that we run every year. We get some of those bands over here so they can play over here as well. And then not too long ago, we joined Redback Promotion, which is a really great agency that's now helping us out secure more gigs.
Cool. Talking about the gigs, do you play just new stuff now? Are you playing just like the last two albums, or is there still a couple of tracks from the beginning songs that your big hits or the ones that the crowd ask for? What's your set list like?
We always try to maintain like a nice mix of old and new. So we're actually reworking the set list right now. So for next week, we're gonna, for the first time, include some new songs as well on stage, which is going to be, for us, it's going to be like a great moment to finally play those songs live. But we also, for example, we still have one song from the very first EP from 2000 in there, which is called Blood for Me. So we actually still play that song. And I think right now we play, at least from every album or EP, we play at least one song.
So if someone like, people coming in, hearing of you for the first time, and you had to say to them, listen to one song, what song would you tell them to listen to give them the ultimate Blood for Me kind of experience?
I think that's actually one of the hardest questions that you can ask me, because we have such, like, even we try to keep variation between the songs. So I think I'm going to go with some of what are my favorite songs. So that would probably be a song like Disgusted or Folie à Deux from the EP, which is more like the slower part. And then I think from the last album, I would say something like L'Uomo Delinquente, which is a little bit more nastier, like more of like raw vibe to it, and some others. But yeah, I think it's hard to just pick and choose one or two songs, because there's so many. We also have like our different phases where we do kind of different stuff, so it's hard to just pick one.
Yeah. So what's that? L'Uomo Delinquente? That's like delinquent or something. Is that Italian or? Yes,
it actually is. It's basically a. It was a book written in the, let me say, like 18 somethings. I have to look that up. Don't quote me on that. Well, too late. But it's a study of criminal behavior. And what this study actually says, that you can basically deduct or actually predict criminal behavior from physical characteristics of people. So this was highly controversial for obvious reasons, because this person actually went and said, you know what, I'm going to measure like the physical properties of criminals, and then use to make predictions on future criminals, and with the intention of actually putting people behind bars or arresting them and putting them away for physical attributes. And especially in those times, you can probably imagine where that went very quickly.
Yeah.
So, it's a very nasty thing, and I thought it was actually, I think it was Edwin who came up with the idea, and then I did some research on it and wrote the lyrics for that. But it's it's a very interesting but also disturbing subject matter.
Okay, got another question. We might as well go to that. Mikko Hokonen, what are your influence bands for Bloodphemy?
That's always difficult, because again, I think everyone comes to this in the band from a different perspective. For me, I can say I grew up listening to a lot of the traditional bands. Like I'm still a huge fan of bands like Cannibal Corpse, Suffocation. For me personally, Immolation was an enormous influence, because I like the sort of like darker tone that they have compared to a lot of death metal bands. And then obviously in those early 2000s, we were big fans of bands like Nile and Behemoth, who took that speed way much further into where we even thought it could go. And so, yeah, for me, those were major influences.
Okay. The last record, I believe, it came out on Black Lion Records. Is that right? In Cold Blood, was that on Black Lion?
Totally correct. Yeah.
Is that the only one that's been out on Black Lion so far?
Yes, that's our first time dealing with Black Lion. Yeah.
Right. How did that come about? Do you remember how that came to be?
Yes. So basically, after we did all the recordings, we offered it to a number of labels. We just sort of like to gauge the interest in our record, and we got some pretty decent offers. And then in the end, you have to make like a decision based on who's gonna give you good promotion, who's gonna support you. And in this case, we felt really at home at Black Lion Records, because the contact was good, and like we had good engagements with them. The communication was well, so we felt this was the right choice for this record.
And what kind of deal are you on? Is that something you're allowed to talk about, or is it kind of like?
Actually, I'm not even that sure, because Edwin arranges most of that. But again, to be totally fair, I don't think I would completely disclose that anyway.
Right, yeah. Because I know the Black Lion fella, because I've talked to him a few times. He's got loads of good bands on his label as well. So every time I see it's a Black Lion band, I think, oh, these would be good, because he always gets good bands. But so I don't know.
That's really good to hear, because I think he's done a wonderful job also in terms of like promotion, and what the hell's going on in the scene. So I think in that regard, we're really at home with them.
And do you know if are you down for another record with them when you got the new one out? Would that be with them, or will you be shopping it around?
I'm not sure actually. We haven't really discussed it yet within the band, but I cannot really say anything about that right now.
That's fair enough. How about sales and reaction? How have they been going?
Well, in terms of sales, I don't really know, but because I haven't really kept close to the numbers, but the response has been generally very, very positive. We got great reviews. We got a lot of people really applauding the sort of style that we went for, and obviously you also get critiques. People will go like, "Well, this is not really pushing the boundary enough or anything." And to be fair, we don't really care about that. It's like, I have a good friend who's in one of my other band, and he always says, if you want originality, play metal with a tuba or something. Like, what do you want? I don't really care about that. Like, I care that it's fucking awesome and that we play the music that we love. And I'm always very happy to see that other people love the stuff that we put out, because like really our heart and soul goes into it. And then when somebody else listens to that record and goes like, dude, that's fucking awesome, that's what we do it for. And I don't really care about somebody who doesn't like it. There's probably more people out there that don't like it, because if not, then why are R&B people so popular? So
that's it. Go and make your own fucking band if you're not happy with what we're doing.
Yeah, you don't have to listen to us. Like,
yeah.
Don't like it.
Yeah. Well, what's the Dutch scene like at the moment? There used to be quite a lot of Netherlands bands, but like I hear talk to a lot of people saying the scenes are not as good as it used to be in various countries. Like there's not so many places to play. And what's it like there in the Netherlands? Not Holland, but the Netherlands.
Fair enough. No, I think it's a double-edged sword, because on one hand, there's definitely something of a like it's definitely less than it used to be, but especially if you go to the concerts, like the enthusiasm and the number of people attending has seemed to go down a little bit. But on the other hand, if you have still a great many smaller and bigger festivals in Holland, from like small indoor things to bigger things, and these still get a lot of attendees, and it's still very much alive. And if you also look at the amount of bands that are active in Holland, I think we're still doing very well in that regard. So I think it's mixed. It's really a mixed bag. On one hand, you have this sort of like, it feels less than it used to be, but on the other hand, it's still like, we're doing pretty good.
Mm. So how long have you been doing bands for? You've been in bands before this. You're also in Grindpad as well. But how have you seen not just the scene, but like the way that bands do stuff, like social media and different technologies to do with recording and stuff like that? How do you think all that has changed? Is it for the better? Is it for is it another double-edged sword kind of thing?
Well, I would say maybe a little bit, but I think really the rise of digital technology has really democratized the availability of technology to everyone in terms of recording. So right now, it's way easier than it's ever been to sit at home without a professional studio and create a good sounding record. That is something that was not possible when I was in my 18 or 19 playing in my first bands. That was an absolute no-go. It's like you could do maybe a recording on tape or whatever, but like it would sound like absolute shit, and you need to get some serious money to get something that would sound decent. But right now, the digital technology has led us to being able to record very good sounding things at home. I really like that, because it gives the opportunity to smaller bands and low-key musicians to get their stuff out there, especially using social media and things like that. If you are really good, you will probably get picked up, as long as you put the work in it. And I think that's something that hasn't changed, because you still need to work very hard to get noticed. And it's not like you put it on YouTube and just wait for like the thousands of views to rake in. You'll be stuck at like 50 or something for a year. And I think in that regard, it hasn't really changed. And I always think back about reading an interview with one of the guys from Cannibal Corpse, I think like in the 2000s or something. And he said, well, when we were starting to like building up the band, we were practicing like 3 times a week. And the other 4 days, we were working on promotion and stuff like that. And I think it's still like that. If you put in the effort, you can get noticed, but you have to work for it.
But so it's different now. It's online blogs and online interviews instead of like fanzines, and like no tape trading anymore and stuff like that. One thing that could be said about the new technology in recording, like you had the old band in a 4-track recorder on their demo, and some people like that chunky old. Like, do you think some of that good old gutsy, ballsy, messy sound has like died off a bit? Do you think that's good that that's died off? Or well, you like the more crisp kind of production that people go for nowadays?
It's hard to say, because one of my favorite death metal albums of all time is Close to a World Below by Immolation. And I think you would be hard-pressed to find anyone who would say that's one of the best productions ever. But it has sort of like this, I think maybe because it sounds a little bit muddy and a little bit grudgy, that it actually adds to the vibe of the album. If I imagine listening to that like in a perfect, super crisp production, I don't think I would be as impacted as much by that album. So it's hard. But I was never a big fan of those super cheap, low-ass productions. When I remember having discussions back in the early 90s when we're all kids in school, and you go, no, that's underground, man, you don't understand it. And I was like, yeah, but you can still try.
Yeah, it's just different now, isn't it? It's just everything's different.
Yeah. Especially with us, like with the Bloodphemy, we try to go for the best production value that we can. And we've been working with Jörg Uken from Sound Lodge Studios in Germany. And he has done an amazing job on the stuff that we put out. And like we're not even considering going anywhere else, because like this guy, the sound that he gave us, and that totally fits with our with the way we want to sound and what we're looking for. So yeah, I mean, I think the production value, especially in Cold Blood, is just absolutely stellar, and I would never want to sound like a 4-track 90s band. Maybe
Yeah.
you probably got something to hide from your musical skills or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the amount of times though, back in the day, like, I'd have a demo by a band, and I'd love the demo, and then when they bring it out, the same track on a CD, and be like, it doesn't sound like the demo. You know, you kind of get used to that kind of rougher sound because it was what you first heard. You know,
Yeah. I absolutely, don't get me wrong. I don't mind a rough sound if that's all that they were able to get.
Yeah.
But I think especially right now, you can get like a good interface on your PC for a couple of $100, and then you spend another like $60 to $100 for some good software. And you get some free plugins, and you can do a decent production. So I don't really see why anyone has to sound like a black metal album from '91 anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not talking shit about black metal albums from '91 because such some great stuff, but I would imagine it sounded a little bit different if that technology was available to them at that moment in time.
Right, got another question. What influences your lyrics or Bloodphemy's lyrics? I think we touched on that already, but is there any bands or any writing or anything that's influenced your lyrics?
Well, definitely. I think, especially my early work personally, when like one of my very, very earliest bands was a very black metal focused. And then I became a huge death metal fan. But when we started, or when I was asked to also participate in the writing process for Bloodphemy, I didn't want to go with the standard, like I'll be shoveling a head through your face or like a hacksaw on your face or something like that. Which, I mean, I enjoy Cannibal Corpse as much as the next guy, but that's their thing. Like, if you're going into the same thing, like I don't think that will be very interesting. So, especially because the theme was already set in terms of like mental conditions and stuff like that, we tried to take it more into that direction. So one of the things that we did is do some research on interesting mental illnesses and things like that, do some research trying to find actual cases in like case studies, and sometimes it could be like documentaries or case studies or whatever, and see if there's interesting things coming out of that. And then we use those in our lyrics and write about that.
Right, going back to the name of the band, Blasphemy's in there. What is the Netherlands is not a very religious. Is it a very religious country? Is it secular, or what? I mean,
it's mainly secular, but obviously we still have large-scale religious groups. But I think in terms of religious freedom, maybe Scandinavia is more free. But I think we're very much a very free from religion kind of country.
Yeah.
And I think also that's sometimes it keeps me from writing more like anti-religious lyrics, because it's very easy in a country where you're completely free of any religious oppression to start like kick against religion. I mean, I personally would be really impressed by the size of the balls of anyone who does that in like Iran or something. But yeah, over here it's more like child's play, I would say.
Yeah. You do hear about some bands like in places like Iran getting done for blasphemy laws just for playing heavy metal. Nothing to do with what they're actually singing about. And there's quite a lot of I watch quite a few channels on YouTube. There's lots of they've got the blasphemy of the Charlie Hebdo where they killed the blinking artists of the. So there's still a lot of that prevalent in the world, but in sort of your part of the world and my part of the world, there's not really much religion to push back against.
No, absolutely, and we do have some like you have some idiots basically. That's like there's stuff that happened not too long ago. Actually, in my hometown, there was one guy who shot up a tram in the middle of the city, and some people died in that, and was actually a religiously motivated attack, which was extremely sad. And I think it really shook the community very hard. But in the end, if you think about that, that was really just one lunatic with a gun. And that can happen everywhere. And I don't think that has anything to do with the rise of religious oppression in Holland or something like that.
Wasn't there an incident on a train a few years ago as well? A couple of guys on a train, something to do with separatism, because there's an island or something that Holland or Netherlands have got control of somewhere. And wasn't there some guys from there trying to cause a scene or something? I'm sure there was a movie made out of it as well.
That was back in the early '80s. So my
Was that long
memories.
ago? Wow.
Yeah, that was long. So recently, there were some lawsuits about it, so maybe that's why it popped up in the news again. But that was really long ago.
Oh, okay. Okay, then. Someone was asking.
Pretty sure I wasn't even listening to metal back then.
You wasn't listening to metal back then, you say?
No, probably not.
Oh, let's go there. Actually, let's go there. How did you discover metal? How did metal become your music?
Well, that's actually a funny story because I was in my early days in high school when a couple of my friends, they started to listen to I got to know this, it was actually a hip hop group from Amsterdam, and they really called themselves like hardcore hip hop and singing about pretty brutal stuff. And I started to really enjoy that because first I was more like into punk and like more poppy punk, and I didn't really know anything heavier than that existed. And these guys popped along, and I really started to be grabbed by the more like realistic kind of lyrics and social lyrics and stuff like that. They were really on point. And these guys were actually using a lot of heavy metal samples in their music already. So they had a lot of samples from bands like Type O Negative and Slayer and stuff like that. And it turns out later when I actually spoke to the guys that it turned out that they were pretty big metal fans as well. And then I think it was in 95 or 96 or something, they released an album together with a Dutch death metal band called Nembryonic.
I know them.
They used to be known as Nembryonic Hammer Death, but they changed it.
Yeah. I think I've got all their stuff, I think.
Ah, perfect. Yeah, they're great. To my surprise, they actually brought out an album that was by a hip hop crew and a death metal band.
Oh, never heard that one.
Yeah, that was absolutely cool. It's all in Dutch, but I really enjoyed that. And at the same time, I had friends who, I think it was maybe 14, 15 at the time, and they played things like Amorphous for me and stuff like that. I was like, I think it was the Tales from the Thousand Lakes album. I'm pretty sure that was actually the first metal album, like proper metal, that I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't aware of things like Metallica or Iron Maiden or stuff like that, or the usual like gateway bands. But I just heard this like low growling from their singer and the double bass and the heavy guitar sounds. Like, holy fuck, this is awesome. I think I fell in love with metal like right that instant, hearing the first tones of that album when the guitar sounded blasting. And then I started to dig into that a little bit more. And then I discovered black metal, which was a really something that I loved instantly. And I remember going to Amsterdam because they had like a big metal store, and I bought my very first metal CD, which I still cherish to this day. It was Emperor's Anthem to the Welkin at Dusk, which for me personally is the best black metal album ever created. And I still actually listen to that album on a fairly regular basis because I still discover new things and new like musical things going on in there. Because apart from it's not something you usually associate with black metal, but it's actually musically on a very, very high level. And Isan and Samoth are insanely talented musicians that just really wrote something that I think is on an extraordinary level. And for me, I think it was like 18 months ago, I went to Inferno Metal Fest in Norway because Emperor would play the entire album there. And for me, that was like sort of like, I'm not going to say religious, but a very personal journey. I just got my ticket, didn't even know any of my friends would go. And it's a 4-day festival. And I literally just bought the ticket just to see that. And that was awesome.
Yeah. So where was that? I didn't catch that. No, I didn't catch I didn't catch the last bit that you said. Every now and again, you kind of get a bit of noise, and I can't quite hear what you said. Sorry, I was
saying that was just a very enormously cool experience, and that was fucking awesome.
Cool. Speaking of Nembryonic, do you remember Consolation as well?
Yes, I do. And I think one of my favorites from back in the day was Stahlplaat. I think it's a brilliant CD.
Yeah. I remember because they had this split. The first one they did was a split, wasn't it? Tempter or something like that. Okay. I've got a question from Miko again. Where was your most memorable gig so far?
Oh, good question. We've had so much good times with the guys, but I think for me, probably it has to be either one of the last gigs that we did in Poland, which just like in terms of atmosphere and crowd response was amazing. But I think for me personally, that would have to be Czech Death Fest in 2017, because I've only been in the band for a couple of months back then, trying and learned the set, and we did some local gigs, and then we went off to the Czech Republic, and we played a gig in a town called Mladá Boleslav, which was awesome, in a small bar, and then we went to Czech Death Fest, which for me was my first real open air festival gig, and with the guys, and that was just the crowd response was amazing. We had a time slot in the afternoon, so you never really know what to expect. Is anybody going to show up or not? And actually, a lot of people showed up for the gig, and it was an amazing experience. Crowd response was awesome. After the gig, like, everybody was trying to meet us and sell T-shirts and like autographing shit. And for me, that was a first ever. And I think I'll remember that for a long time.
You see some footage from the Czech Death Fest or Brutal Assault. I think that's in Czech, and the crowds are crazy. Like loads of like blow up dolls flying around and like all kinds of weird shit going on.
The crowds in Czech Republic, also Slovakia and in Poland, they are just amazing. They literally go crazy, absolutely crazy, and completely mental when you play, and I love it.
You've not played in the UK either, have you?
No, but maybe we can make something happen.
Well, with this Brexit crap, I'm not sure if that's going to be possible in the future. If like there's going to be all kinds of visa crap, I think. So I'm not sure if we're going to.
We'll probably figure something out. I'm not worried. Yeah, I mean, it would be really cool if we could do something like with a couple of friendly bands and hop over and do some shows in the UK. I'd love that.
So we're. At the moment, we're in like lockdown part 2 or something. So yeah, I don't know when we're going to come out of this. I wonder if there's going to be like bands in the future, like who will be singing. I'm expecting a lot of COVID-19 themed albums coming in the next couple of years.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's already some stuff being in the works. Yeah, a lot of bent up frustration being put into good music, probably. So, I mean, let's try and look forward to that. A lot of people being angry and frustrated right now is going to result in awesome music.
Yeah. Also, probably some political kind of stuff. There's all so much political crap going on. Like people saying it's a bloody it's a government ruse and there's no such thing, and people saying you're wearing a mask and you're just a sheep. I mean, have you got any views on all that?
Well, I'm trying to stay away, especially from the band. I'm trying to stay away from politics. I got my own opinions on that, which are not necessarily the voice of the band, but. For me personally, I would say that we probably got a lot of things wrong during our responses, but I don't think that's really weird because we're all dealing with something that nobody, probably a lot of us hadn't really thought about or seen ever. So I think if you look back maybe in like 1 or 2 years, we probably got a lot of things wrong and could have done things better. But then again, if you have to make the decisions in that moment in order to help save lives, that's probably the best people have done, and I'm absolutely not believing in any conspiracy theory. So, yeah, you can. If it's up to me, you can put up the 5G, and I don't believe in any of that crap personally. But I do kind of see why people would go into that direction. But for me, it's just a hoax.
Yeah, it's kind of easy for you see so much stuff around, and there seems to be a lot of people who deliberately like to. Just talk rubbish, and people can easily sort of get into it. There's so many. If you go on, so many people believing in flat Earth nowadays and stuff like that, and like legitimately arguing that the Earth is flat.
A lot of people, they just crave attention, and then they just yell out some crazy stuff. They just have their voices heard, and I think that's the downside to the internet.
So you haven't got any crazy opinions yourself, then? You got no secret opinions of Illuminati or anything like that?
Oh, I'd love it for it to be like I would love it if the Illuminati were behind everything. I mean, that would make the world so much more interesting.
What about, did we really go to the moon, or was it all done in a studio in Hollywood?
We went to the moon. That's fine. It's a shame that Slayer wasn't around so we could drop a Slayer album there. But that's
yeah. I was working on my podcast today. Actually, there's 2 golf balls on the moon, and one of the astronauts. In the dust, he put the initials of his daughter, so like TEC or NEC or something like that. So that's all up on the moon at the moment. That's going on my Patreon show for this month. Talk right, vinyl and CDs. Have you actually been able to bring anything out on vinyl yet? And where do you stand on which is best, vinyl or CD? Have you got any like memories of records back in the day? Did you think they're better than CDs? Where do you stand on that?
Well, to answer your first question, yes, we're going to be releasing In Cold Blood very soon on vinyl. So
Cool.
it's actually been announced already. I don't know the exact date when it's going to release, but it's going to be very, very soon. So you can actually get In Cold Blood on vinyl. And we actually did a nice redesign of all the artwork and the cover and stuff like that as well. So it's obviously going to feature the same cover, but we've redesigned the whole design and artwork to better fit the bigger size of a vinyl cover. So that is actually going to be really awesome. We're really looking forward to that. And so anyone interested, please check out our Facebook, because we've got the announcement there and the link where you can order it. We will have it on our web shop when it's available, and you can get it there. In terms of my opinion, it's also I find it a very hard topic. I do have a record player at home, and I have some vinyl albums, not too many. But I've never really experienced myself that the vinyl quality would be better. And it's funny because like just this week I had a discussion with a friend of mine about it. He was like absolutely sure that vinyl will always sound better. And I was like, I don't know. I have never experienced it. Maybe my ears are just bad. I don't know. For me, it's not much of a difference.
Conspiracy.
Well, maybe there is a difference, and I've just been given bad ears, so I don't notice it.
Yeah. Well, what about just on the packaging? I mean, I don't necessarily sort of notice a difference between LP and CD on quality. Maybe there is a bit of a more warmth to LP. I think I have to listen to the same band on the LP and then on the CD to really be able to sort of ascertain if there is a difference in quality. But I just think the packaging of a vinyl, you got the inner sleeve, you got the bigger art. I mean,
yeah, that's something that I totally wholeheartedly agree with, because I love having like this bigger package in my hand where you can really look at the artwork and then like the inner sleeves with extra art and stuff, just like you say. That is awesome.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of things in my collection that I really hold dear. So I have a original print of Dissection with the Somberlane on vinyl picture disc edition, which was given to me by the drummer of Grindpad. He gave it to me and he said, well, you can have it because you love Dissection so much, but you are not allowed to sell it ever, which I will never intend to sell that. And then also when it came out, I bought the special limited edition Iron Maiden album for Matter of Life and Death, which is just a beautiful package and double LP and everything, like the weighted vinyl. And there's something about that is just really, really cool.
I was going to say, actually, it just reminded me. Did all the tracks from the CD fit on the album? Is it different? How long was the album on CD? Did it all fit on the? Because I know there's different play time, isn't it?
I think it's around 40 minutes, so it wasn't a problem. Maybe 40 something minutes. It was no problem. It just everything just fit nicely onto there.
Yeah. And how about numbers? Do you know how many you're getting printed up?
I don't know by heart. I need to look that up. It's probably not a huge print. So.
And how much do you know how much you're selling it for?
Again, I have to.
No, is it likely to be the same as a CD, or is it going to be more because it's?
I imagine it's maybe a little bit more, but not too much. I mean, we never really, we are absolutely not in this band to make any money. So we do make like a small profit on anything that we sell, but it's just money that goes directly back into the band to maybe do some other stuff. So I mean, we all got jobs, so we don't care about making money from the band. We do this as a hobby, and we need to just have as much fun as we can.
Yeah, if you're into heavy metal, you have to realize it's just a hobby, because no fucker makes money out of it. There's like one or two people.
I mean, like if you're Exodus or something or Cannibal Corpse, you'll probably make a decent living. But there's one thing that everybody getting into metal probably should realize: like, play your asses off because you love it, and don't expect to make a career.
No, that's it. Just sorry.
It's the lucky few that will make it, but it's not a valid strategy for success in life.
Yeah, just about having a good time, rocking out, fucking thrashing out, getting some catharsis and all that kind of thing.
Exactly. And when I compare it to I feel like colleagues and stuff like that who talk about the shit that they did in the weekend, they go like, I went like to soccer or whatever. It's like, and they go like, what did you do? I stood in front of like hundreds of people and I had a good time. And they go like, really? Come on, don't tell me that's not more awesome than going to a soccer game.
Right. So it's good we're coming towards the end now. 5 minutes left to talk about future plans. And I was actually going to ask about the new album. Have you got the name? How many songs are recorded for or have you got ready for the new release? Any idea of a name yet? And also any themes? You had the mental health themes on this last one. And Miko is saying, is there going to be some conspiracy theory themed lyrics in the future?
Well, Miko, no, it's not going to be about conspiracy theories. We're trying something new, but we haven't really talked about how much I'm allowed to say. So I hope the guys are not going to kick my ass after this, but I won't disclose too much. So we have 10 songs that are ready for the album, which are now in production. So we've already recorded drums, guitars are in production. I'm still working very actively on the lyrics right now. And we are trying to move in a different direction. So in some regard, it will hold still some connection to the mental health kind of thing, because that's definitely a theme, but it's not the main theme of what we're doing with this album. And we're trying to make it more into like a concept album. I think the guys, don't kill me if I wasn't allowed to say that, but and I think that's as far as I can take it right now, because we are working all the songs into one big concept, which is has got nothing to do with conspiracy theories, but it touches. I think there's a connection to the mental health kind of thing, but it's not the main theme.
So the last one, the title "In Cold Blood" doesn't seem to sort of go with a mental health kind of theme. How does the title of that album fit in with the themes?
It's a good question, because I think it kind of, for me, it kind of does, because there's, especially when you look at the sort of like mental health issues people have, and the stuff that we're all singing about stuff that really went wrong. So people killing each other, ending up doing extremely weird things. And so we also have songs about children that don't really perceive reality in the right kind of way and end up either killing their parents or getting their parents killed because of lies and stuff like that. So I think that in terms of in cold blood, it kind of means that if you can do something in cold blood, you kind of have a mental health problem already. Yeah. Because I don't really think there's a lot of people that can just go out and just stab somebody like 23 times on the street without having some sort of a mental issue. So in that regard, I think that's more where the connections sit. And we always like to, I think we like had the title, the word blood in our titles every album. And that's something we just kind of kept going. It wasn't really something we did very deliberately at first, but decided, we've had it a couple of times, let's keep that going.
So have you got a name for the new album yet?
Yes, we do.
Is it a secret?
Yeah, I'm afraid
you could.
I haven't discussed how much we were going to disclose. So
I would say you could take this opportunity to like make it like a world's first, the unveiling of the new name. How does?
I'm going to give you 10 points for trying, Graham, but
right. How did you sort of decide? Like, did you sit down and say, right, we're going to do a theme? Did Edwin say, like, I want a theme for this album, or did you just talk about it and then decide on the theme, or how did that come about?
Actually, I don't really remember how I came up with this, but it was my idea to try and do this. And so I had this thing in my head at some point, and it just sort of like started growing in my head and sort of like maturing the idea. And then at some point I went to the guys, like, guys, I have an idea for the next album. Maybe can we do like this and this and this? And I think everybody just responded very instantly. Is like, yeah, that sounds cool. Like, let's go for it. And then obviously it's more work than I imagined it to be, because writing lyrics like individually without any connection, that is a lot easier than trying to come up with like a coherent thing that makes sense across 10 songs. But I think also for us as a band, and for me as a writer, that is something there's like a nice challenge to pick up and work on.
Yeah. Is it just like the themes that go through each song, or is it like a story kind of going through the songs?
Let me think. Yeah, I think I can disclose. It's going to be a story.
No, interesting. Okay, we're coming up to like 1.5 minutes. Thanks for joining me. Very cool chatting to you.
I'm sorry?
I said very cool chatting to you.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure.
Cool. And the links, if everyone wants to find out more about the band, down below, I've got a link to my blog where I've put all the links as far as I know for Bloodphemy. You can go and check out all the links. I was going to ask you about social media. Like, what else do you do on social media? Do you do a lot? You've got YouTube channel?
Yeah, we got YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, like the works.
Do you do much on your YouTube to sort of like get the band out there, like playthroughs, or is it just like the odd lyric video? How do you?
It's more like we haven't done really that much of extras on it yet, but we're thinking about that being more active on those channels as well.
So there's a lot of quite a lot of like vinyl channels and metal channels. Like if you was like doing stuff on there, talking about just even having a chat with each other about your vinyl and showing your vinyl, that would be a good way to get more people in to sort of discover your band kind of thing. Especially if you're on there showing off your new album, right? You might get a few sales extra from it.
That's actually a really good idea. I'm going to remember that.
Oh, I'll leave you to just finish off the interview however you like, mate. You've got, whatever. Hello.
Just want to thank everyone who's been watching this. So yeah, it's been very nice chatting to you. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's great to at least get some action even in these weird times. So everyone, stay safe, listen to metal, make your voices heard, and we hope to see you out there as soon as we fucking can.
Yeah, cool. Cheers for that then. I'll say goodbye to everyone. Make sure you check out my podcast. I played Bloodphemy on my last podcast. So the link to the blog's down below. You can find all my podcasts on there. Also my Patreon. If anyone wants to support me on Patreon, you get an extra exclusive show every month. And check out Bloodphemy. They kick ass. And thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.